Hi, you're listening to Book Chat with author Vivian E. Moore.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome to Book Chat. I am your host, author Vivian E. Moore. Hope everyone had a great week, and I hope you're having an even better weekend. And also, guys, don't forget to fall back this weekend. Well, tonight, actually, around 2 a.m., so remember to do that. I know most of us have cell phones, and that's what we use for our clocks now, but for those who don't, just remember that little tip, okay? Guys, we have a special show for you today. I have with me a special guest that I'm going to introduce here shortly. But first, I want to read her bio, and then I will formally introduce her, all right? All right, so C.O. Ledford was born in the city of Chattanooga, Tennessee, where she was raised by her grandparents to be a strong and independent person. She became an avid reader at the age of 11 when her fifth grade teacher gifted her the book, The Black Stallion. With this book, her love of books grew. In middle school, she began to write what would be one of many books swirling around in her head. Silver Moon Kiss came to life with 2 chapters and multiple scenes before it was packed away and not thought of until after she had become an adult. C.O. Ledford writes in paranormal romance and contemporary romance. Her first published book, The Second Alpha, Heir, released on June 14, 2022. Applause, applause, applause. And by this time, she had moved to a little town called Ringo, Georgia, and married her husband, where they raised their 3 children and 5 German short-haired dogs. Along with her love of writing and reading, she also enjoys hunting behind her dogs. Welcome, Chasity. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for having me here, Vivian.
Oh, you are more than welcome. It is my pleasure to have you on the show today. First of all, I want to chat a bit about your new book. So fill us in on that.
The one that's published or the one that's coming that's I'm trying to get out? I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay. Let's talk about the published book first.
Okay. The Second Alpha Heir was just really a book to try and get my name out there, as I had it almost completely finished. And it was ready to go before Silver Moon Kiss. So I was like, well, I'll see about, getting this book out first, get my name out there, try to, get some readers. And some of the readers that have already read it have, asked for or mentioned, that they would like to, know more about the world of this book. And, just to know more about, the other characters. And so we, there is a spinoff coming for that one. That is, so.
Okay, well, go ahead.
No, it's not complete, but it is in the works.
Okay, well, with most writers, you always have something in progress. You have one thing finished, and while you're working on something else, so that's just the way it is. So tell us a bit about the characters of the Second Alpha Heir.
So Nolan is our main male character. I've had readers say it's a coming of age book. So he's 13 when his life is just changed completely. He technically was the bullied part of the pack, even though he was, of alpha blood, the leader of the son of the leaders. His older brother, Archer, was supposed to be the next alpha because he was the oldest and he was being trained and groomed for this spot. And he was always there in the shadows, really, of his brother.
Okay.
I'm sorry, my dog is barking.
You know what? This is real life, so that is perfectly fine. Not a problem.
So he, his brother goes with his father and one of their other leaders to a pack, and his brother is murdered. And so he is thrust into the life that his brother was supposed to have. So he has to learn to, be the alpha and, get over certain things in his life that he didn't feel like he was good enough to, take over. So he's, he's kind of like, those normal teenage kids that, have to learn that sometimes you just have to buckle up and get ready for the ride.
Exactly. It sounds like he has a lot of responsibility on his shoulders that he wasn't prepared for, but he has to step up because now, whether he's prepared or not, this is the role that he's been forced into. But I think that's so good and it's so poignant because, as you said, in life, sometimes we are put in positions that we may not be ready for, but still is an opportunity, to prove to ourselves and to the world that we will be ready, that we're getting ready, and to take that first step or that next step to put us where we need to be. So I like that. I like the dynamics of this story. So I don't want to mispronounce the name of the pack, so I'm going to let you do it.
The name of the pack is called Rhyolite.
Okay.
And I named them after the packs after stones.
Oh, okay.
So there's, the quartzite pack and then the dull stone pack. The Rhyolite pack is, Nolan's.
Okay.
And quartzite pack is actually a pack that is friendly with them, has been friends with the pack since his father was alpha. So he actually gets to go over there and train, and he actually gets to meet that alpha's children.
Okay.
His son named Sawyer, he's the next in line for his pack, and he kind of takes Nolan under his wing and shows him, hey, we're about the same age. Let me show you what we should be able to do, kind of like his sister Amora. She is, she's the daughter. She kind of gets away with anything that she'd like to,
Yes.
So she changes a little as he's there, but she starts to have feelings that she's not totally convinced of herself for Nolan. So she's a little flighty. She's a little spunky. She likes to, try to be independent, even though her big brother and his, best friend, that is kind of like her brother now, tries to protect her. So, she kind of is like, I don't need your help. Why are you helping me? I can do this. I'm a big girl. So.
Right. Well, that I think too, in showing the family dynamic, sometimes well, more than sometimes you have that in families where there's
Yeah.
always, that sense of competition,
Yeah.
and so I'm glad that you showed that. But now we jump ahead because we know that Nolan was forced from his family in the pack. So now he's 18 years old. He's 18 back on his birthday. So now what takes place now?
Nolan is now back at his pack. He's 18. They're throwing a party. He didn't really want the party because, like I was telling you, the pack that, his pack didn't really like him because he was what they called the runt of the pack, and so he wasn't always invited to, birthday parties, and he wasn't that popular. So a lot of the, wolf pups or kids wouldn't come to his parties, even though he was an alpha. So he only agrees to this party as long as his father invites the quartzite pack. And she does because he wants to, see Amora again. Because while he was there, he kind of had a little bit of feelings for her as well, but didn't know if they were, cis brotherly or what. But
that's understandable. It seems as though he's having all of these issues because he became alpha by default. But now it seems as though not only does he have to prove himself to his family, but he also has to do it to become the pack leader and to have the others respect him as such. So I like that of it. So, and I don't want you to give too much away for those who haven't read it yet. So I want them to discover everything for themselves. But I thank you for sharing that much of the story because it sounds very interesting, and I am a big fan of this genre. All right, so now that we talked about the second alpha heir, let's talk a little about Silver Moonkiss, and then we're going to get to some question and answers. Is that all right?
That is fine.
All right, so let's talk about Silver Moonkiss here for a second.
Silver Moonkiss, like my bio said, I came up with this story when I was 14 in my room with my best friend. We were just playing around, we were like, oh, what if we, had a book like this, and, just started, doing some, crazy teenager stuff. And I kind of, with Silver Moonkiss, I kind of pulled a little bit of different shows and things that I thought would be, pretty cool. Like, Buffy, I pulled the Commandos that are in the show. I pulled from Van Helsing the, werewolf that Van Helsing, turned into, kind of. And then I pulled from Underworld. That's kind of a secret. You gotta read the book.
Okay.
I don't want to give away that.
Don't give too much of it away.
If you've ever watched Underworld, you probably have kind of an inkling of what I've pulled from there.
Right.
But I pulled all these shows that I loved and everything, and I tried pushing and pulling them into this book. I didn't get very far, as you could tell, like only a couple of chapters and a few little scenes that I had, written down on, some pieces of paper. And I didn't think about it until a couple of years ago. And I was actually doing school for my prereqs for RN. And I was just sitting at my computer thinking, I'm kind of bored right now. I should be studying, but the book kind of just hit me and was like, where was that book at? Like I had written everything down and I couldn't find it. So then I was like, I'm just going to do it off of memory. And I couldn't the band's name. All I can remember were, the two main characters' name, which is, Trigger. He's our rogue werewolf. He's in a band, a rock band, like a heavy metal, like, band with a couple of vampires. Mm-hmm. And then there's Kaylee, and she's human. Mm-hmm. And her dad is a scientist who, captures the supernatural just to find out exactly, what
they are and what makes them tick.
Yeah. So we kind of get into the thing with Trigger and Kaylee. Trigger wasn't raised with wolves. Like, mm-hmm. He basically grew up, he was given, in the first part of the prologue, you meet a woman, mm-hmm. and she's giving birth to a child.
Okay.
In an abandoned building, and she leaves him at a orphanage, okay. Like a Catholic orphanage. And he sort of kind of grows up there until he runs away, and he meets Connor and Mitch, the two vampires. Okay. And he forms a bond with them. My dog is barking again.
It's okay. It is all right.
So he kind of makes a name for himself, mm-hmm. along with them. They form a band. They name it Oathbreaker, and they get pretty big, and so they come back to their hometown, and they're performing a concert, and he sees Kaylee. Kaylee is up front and center with her friend Lulu, a little feisty redhead. She's probably one of my favorite characters, Lulu. She's sort of chill, but she has some spunk to her.
Okay.
But yeah, it's, I don't know. I've gotten it finished. I've gotten it over to the editor. Mm-hmm. Just waiting for her to finish the 143,000 words.
Well, by the time she's done, I'm quite sure to be less than that, way less than that. But
probably.
But that's just it's part of the process.
Oh yeah, because what's crazy is I had actually finished this book in third point of view, mm-hmm. and I decided to make it a series.
Okay.
And the next book was going to be all about Trigger. Mm-hmm. And it was first point of view, and a few of author friends that I had been talking to were like, well, you really don't want to switch point of views in a series. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're back to the drawing board. I'll go and I'll do a revision. Okay. And so it took another year to, finish it in first point of view, and so now it's at the editor.
Okay.
In first view. So
I've done that myself a few times because I wanted both of the main characters to have a voice, for the readers to see the story from both point of view. So I've done that myself too. I've done that quite a few times. But when you do series, those books, they really sell well because people always want to know, well, what's coming next? They just don't want you to leave the story with that that first happy ending. They want more. So you always want to, to give them more. And if you can do that in a series, whether it's 3 books, 6 books, 9 books, however many it takes to do it, it's always good to, to listen to the, to the call of the crowd, of the readers, because they sort of lead and guide you in the direction that you need to go.
Oh, definitely.
Okay. Well, as I said before, I'm a big fan of the paranormal and sci-fi genres, and as I said again, I've written several soon-to-be published novels, and of course I'm a Star Trek fan and Star Wars fan, and maybe a few of the shows that that you said, and also the Twilight Zone growing up. So I'm just right in there with that paranormal and sci-fi. I really am. But and I'm sure um, all of this may have been a little bit before your time, but I know that Star Wars is the exception because I believe that franchise will live on for infinity. But
Oh yeah.
but because I love those movies and television shows, they inspired me to write in a specific genre. So I want to know what specifically was your inspiration. I know that you developed a love of books from a book that was given to you by a teacher, but what specifically inspired you to write in this genre?
I guess it was mainly Underworld and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Those two things were, I liked that, there was, these beings that, humans weren't supposed to know about, but they were actually there. And then, I guess I really got in, I was more of a vampire, person before werewolves. I started reading, Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire.
Oh yes, one of my favorites. Oh yes,
Queen of the Damned. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I guess another book that really got me into this type of genre, just more on the vampire side, was a book called The Vampire Huntress Legend by L.A. Banks.
Okay.
She still has 3 books that I have not read yet, that has finished her stories, the story of this series. I've done. I don't have the incomplete set. I've got some of them. I don't have the complete set, so
Okay.
I'm
Right.
looking forward to actually getting those. But yeah, I guess when werewolves kind of popped up, I don't know if a lot of people know. They probably do, but those reading apps like Dream and Good Novel. I was reading werewolf books on there, and I guess that's werewolves kind of became the thing because they had fated mates, and they were made for each other, and it was kind of like, okay, like I like that.
Well, I
Something
think
that's
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you're good.
Okay, I was just going to add that I think a lot of people are drawn to, paranormal stories. I mean, it's just something that fascinates everybody, from children to adults. You see the UFO chasers and seekers, and always trying to find out different things. But vampires and werewolves. That's something I also grew up with as a child. Watching the scary movies. Which they have evolved a whole lot since then, but still they're still fascinating. So we talked about the Black Stallion, the book that was a gift from your teacher, from your 5th grade teacher, and I think it's amazing when a simple gift can change your life and take it in a direction that you never thought possible. So I'm sure that teacher is super proud that he or she, because I don't know if they were male or female.
She was
a she. Okay, all right. Played a part in your writing journey, but and it triggered a love of books and later your writing career. So have you had the opportunity to thank her for triggering that gift?
I haven't. I haven't been in touch with her in a very long time. I know she had a horse farm there in Hickson, and I'm not totally sure if she still has it. So, if I ever find her on Facebook or anything like that, I would really thank her because, I didn't like books before when she said that she was going to give me this book for, so good on this test. I looked at her and I was like, I don't read. Like, she's like, when she told me, she said, hey, come here, I'm going to give you a gift. And she said, in this box, pick a book. And I told her, I was like, I don't read. I don't like to read. And she's like, well, here, because we had talked about horses, and, horses were a thing that we connected with. And she was like, here, I think you may not like to read now, but try this book. It's about a horse. And I was like, okay, fine. And I started reading it, and I was just like, wow, I really like this book. And I read the entire series of it, and then it just, like I said, the reading just kind of spiraled down, and I was like, I started reading different things. I don't think I've not found a genre that I don't like to read.
Right.
It's just, if you have a good sense of storytelling, you don't have to be, in a, the most, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. My brain is not blank.
I think I understand what you're trying to say. Everyone has a starting point, and you never know, what talents you have. And sometimes it takes something as simple as reading your first book to ignite that spark, and to trigger something that perhaps had laid dormant inside of you that you didn't know was there, to set you on your way. So and I think that's important. Maybe you didn't know. And that happens with a lot of us. We don't really know at that age what we're capable of, or what we will be doing, in the future.
Yeah.
But that was the spark. Getting that book and actually reading that book, it was the spark to to trigger your love for not only reading but later developed into writing. So I think that's a good thing. And and if I were you, I would hunt that teacher down and thank her.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I would troll on Facebook if I had to, just to find her, so I could, so you could thank her for doing that, because one of these days, you may have to stand before a crowd and say, well, I have to thank my fifth grade teacher for giving me this book about horses. And, and so that's why I'm here today. But, but not only that teacher, and I'm sure you've already done this, you thank your grandparents because they encouraged you to be independent and to listen to your voice, and to use your imagination. That's important, to create the stories, that are inside your mind. So, so how do you believe this has shaped you into the writer you are and will become?
I mean, as of right now, I don't really know how to answer that question. I really don't know how to answer that.
Well, I think you're still becoming.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's why, you just can't answer it, straight off. But I think you're still becoming. I think you're still, developing those stories. But you're trying to get them out. You're trying to write them as fast as your brain can think them up. So, and sometimes you don't give a lot of thought to what your writing career, what you're doing now, will affect your future career. Although I know that you are a nurse, and that's very important. You didn't have that in your bio, but that's an accomplishment. So, and it just like you became a nurse, you accomplished that. The same thing, as a writer. There will be trials and tribulations. There will be hurdles that you'll have to get over, and the self-doubt, and and all those things that make you who you are, as a writer. it will help to grow your writing skills, your ability, and just your artistry as a whole. Okay, so I have another question for you, so don't panic, all right?
No, you're good. You're good. It's definitely developing. I'm not where I'm pretty sure my writing can definitely improve.
Well,
Definitely.
that's all of us. I don't care how long you write. There's always room for improvement. And once you think that you've mastered it, that's when you write a flop, and then you have that reality check that, oh, maybe I didn't know as much as I didn't. So this is
Definitely.
good to always stay humble and to always keep yourself open to learning more. Always do that. Okay, so how has your love of writing affected how you inspire your children to read and maybe trigger an unknown talent in them?
That one is kind of hard. My littlest, loves for me to read to her. I've always read to her when she was, younger. So she's always bringing me books to read to her, and my husband was like, she, loves for you to read to her. Why don't you read her some of your books to her? And I'm like, well, I don't know if she'd really like any of my books because it's not got pictures. My oldest daughter, she reads a little bit. She's not a big reader, but she does actually try to read. She brings different books home, so I'm hoping, she will develop, a more intense, maybe, love. Actually, I would love for her to love to read, but she might not be one of those completely. Like, she might read maybe a little bit and then, be okay. Now, my son, I have not found the right book to even get him near a book. He stays away from my bookshelf like it is the plague. He will not even. I think he's afraid that he might find a book that he likes and start reading.
Right.
But I tried finding just some cool sci-fi books that some of the male authors write, because most of the time those aren't as romantic and
right, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
He knows that yes, it's sci-fi and paranormal, but it's also romance, and he don't want any parts of that right now.
Definitely. I mean, I've even told him, I said, here, I'll get you some manga books if you'll just read them. And he's just like, no, I'm good.
How old is he?
He's 14.
Oh my goodness. Oh yes.
He so he like I said, my bookshelf is always got a 20-foot berth with him.
Well, there's still hope. There's still hope. He's 14 right now, and that is a very transitional time anyway. So he may not have that spark, that reading spark right now, but it may touch him at any point in time. So just give him time for that. All right. So I know raising children isn't easy, especially when you have a teenager. And when you factor in the amount of time it takes, not to mention shortages of time to write. So how do you manage that?
It's sometimes, I mean, it gets kind of hectic. Sometimes I'm up pretty late writing, because most of the time that's when my creative thoughts are there, is, a little late at night. So, when I'm going to work, I I've got a Starbucks drink in this hand and a Coke Zero in the other, like trying to,
that caffeine fix, yeah.
The caffeine fix to make sure that I'm, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for the patients when they come in. But yeah, sometimes like during the weekends I can, do a little bit more writing. I am writing. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called the nano writing.
Nano.
Yeah, I am doing that this month. I've never even heard of it, and so
that's ambitious. That's very ambitious.
I've actually, and I guess what makes it even more ambitious is I'm actually got 2 books that I put on there. Okay. I'm hoping to do 50K on the sequel to Silver Moon Kiss.
Okay.
That one is my top priority that I want to get out because I'm wanting to get it out, the sequel out, March, April of next year.
Okay.
Now the spinoff to the second Alpha Heir is in the works too with my nano writing. So it's got a little bit less words in it than the sequel of SMK, but it's sort of, I guess I really want to do 50K in both of them, but if not, if I only get 50K in one, it's fine.
50K is good because generally the first books, in a series is sometimes the longer book because you have a bit more explaining to do to set the characters and all those things in place. But then, the second books, they sort of flow, they flow, and sometimes you get more, but you don't want to overdo it. If you get 80,000, break it in half. Put that in the second and put the next in the third. So, it's just how you split it up. So now we talked about your kids and them allowing you time to write. What about your husband? Is he supportive of your artistry?
He is. He's very supportive. He has, there's been plenty of times where I have, wanted to quit because I would have these massive, writer's blocks, and I just couldn't get the words. And I've never been a very fast writer because I'm always, if I see a word and I look at it and it's like, I could actually make that word better. So then I'm over on my phone looking through words like, what word is better for this right here?
Right.
So I'm not slow, but I am slower than normal.
You say that, but if you've never gauged yourself by another writer, then of course you wouldn't know that. So it's okay that you write slowly, because that way you can really look over and read what you've written, and if it makes sense to you, then it's a go. And so, but if you rush through it, a lot of times you make mistakes and you miss things that you could have expound upon just a little bit more. So that's okay about being a slow writer. Take your time, write the story, because it will be finished when you finish it, and guaranteed it will be better for that, because you took your time and you wrote it. So don't ever feel rushed to do something. Always take your time, because haste makes waste. I always say that. So if you could leave one impression about writing and books to inspire another person to do what they love, what would it be?
Get started.
All right.
Just take the plunge and get started.
All right. That sounds like some sound advice. And before I let you go, I want to know, how can readers find you and your books?
They can find me on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I have a website. It's not a custom domain yet, so it's kind of got a wonky web address. So I'm working on getting a custom web domain, but I do have a web address out there too. And then they can find my books on Amazon.
All right, so that's a good starting point to find you and to find your books. And I wish you all success in the world. I can't wait for I think it's what it's called, Silver. Hold on, don't tell me because I'm gonna go back. Silver Moon Kiss. I was halfway there. All right.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that one because I really truly want to. I want to read it and see where it goes and you know and see what the characters do next. So, but I thank you for joining us today. I truly enjoyed this interview. I loved it because it was so real. And and you did so great, so wonderful, and hopefully you'll let me interview you again once your next book comes out. So
yes, ma'am. Thank you, Vivian, for having me. I'm so excited that I got to actually meet up with you, another person that's closer to home.
That's important. So that's very important. So anytime you want to reach out, feel free.
Thank you, Vivian.
All right. Thank you, Chasity. Enjoy your day.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. So that was Chasity Ledford. I hope that you enjoyed the interview. I hope you will go out there and support her, buy her books, because that is so important to encourage her to continue to do what she loves. And not only buy her books, make sure that you leave reviews and leave stars, because that is so important as well. It helps the writers and it helps the readers to find the books and you know, and to pass that love along. All right, so we have a few minutes here left. So before the time runs out, I want to make sure that I give you these URLs. And of course, the first one is to Spreaker. It is at https://www.spreaker.com/user/author Vivian Moore. You can find me across all social media, which includes Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You can check out my blog. That is at https://viviannemore.blogspot.com. You can also listen to the show live every Saturday at 6 on Spreaker. And if you missed the live show, you can always listen to the recorded episodes, starting with today and going all the way back on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, YouTube, SoundCloud, JioSaven, Audible.com, Verbal, Luminary, Amazon, and also iTunes. Tomorrow is the first Sunday, so I hope that you're excited about that. Make sure that you invite family and friends to come worship with you. If you're going to the brick and mortar building or if you're studying from home, invite them to join in, whether it's online or across the telephone. Just make sure you do that because it is so important. And also what's equally important is telling those who you care about the most how you feel about them, because tomorrow is not promised. Today may be the only chance you get to say that. So on that note, I love you. I hope you love me back. Until the next time you hear my voice, God bless you and goodbye.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.